So, moving on to films that we have seen then. So, we start off. So, Ria, you went to the opening night of FrightFest, and the first film that you saw was Cult of Chucky, which is the big opening premiere. So, this is the 7th film in the Child's Play series, of which I've seen every single one. So, I will be watching this at some point. Ria, what is the sort of the overall plot of the film?
So the overall plot of Cult of Chucky is that Nika Pierce, played by Fiona Dourif, her character was confined to an asylum for the criminally insane for 4 years since the previous film, and she's convinced that it was her, not Chucky, that murdered her entire family. But there's a psychiatrist who brings in a new tool that they're going to use for group sessions for all of the people in the asylum. And it is, of course, the very familiar good guy doll. So they basically bring in the doll, and it goes from there. And it does end up having this sort of cultish feel with a good few twists in there. So I won't give too much away, as I think we're trying not to do too many spoilers on this show. We usually are quite spoiler heavy, so we're going to refrain from that with everything being so new, and also with this being the world premiere. They did actually ask us not to reveal too much after we watched the film.
Yeah, so this is directed by Don Mancini again, is that correct?
It is indeed, yeah, and they did all come out for the introduction, including Jennifer Tilly, who was amazing, and, you know, she really stole the show. She's definitely a fan favourite. People love her, and she's hilarious on stage. And they did a Q&A afterwards, where a good few people got to ask questions, and they talked about the making of it. And there was also a young lady there called Kira Gardner, who is daughter of the puppeteer in the Chucky franchise, who's been working on it for a long time. And his daughter is a student, so I think she's maybe around 18. And she made a short documentary which was shown before Cult of Chucky, called The Dollhouse, which is a behind-the-scenes look at the making of Cult of Chucky. So that was very interesting, and with her being young talent, it was nice for her to get her work out there.
Okay, so how many of the previous Child's Play films had you seen before this one?
I think I'm missing 2, but it's been a long time since I've seen the other ones. So I'm definitely going to refresh my memory, which we will return to on a later show. So admittedly, I haven't seen all of them. I missed a couple, so I don't know how it bears up in comparison to every single one. But cool. I first watched Child's Play when I was 5 years old, so it was the first ever horror film that I saw, so I am very attached to the franchise myself.
It didn't influence you to murder anyone, did it?
Not at all.
Okay, that's good to know. Tom, how many have you seen?
I was just trying to have a think while Ria was giving us the synopsis there. I've seen the first one, and I believe I have seen the second one, and I've seen some of the later ones where it got a little bit silly. And you know what? Actually, one of my big questions, Ria, for someone who's seen the latest one, we all know that Hannah from S Club 7 was in one of the last Child's Play films. Are there any other late 90s UK pop stars who pop up in this Cult of Chucky? I'm thinking Dane Bowers, maybe. Does he sort of pop up in the film at all, or?
Unfortunately not.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm not watching this then. I'm not interested in this. I mean, I know. In seriousness, I mean, I read the first one, the second one, Child's Play films. They were, as I say, serious, but I mean, you can't be out and out serious with the subject matter, perhaps, because it is ultimately about a killer doll, and there's only so much seriousness you can get with that. But they did seem to get sillier as the years gone on. Have they kind of gone a bit more serious again, or has it continued in the sort of slapstick, silly vein of some of the later ones?
Well, I'll go ahead and give you my review. So I did enjoy this film. It was fun. It was incredibly fun to see the real Chucky doll. It was incredibly fun to see the whole cast there and Don Mancini in it. For me and for other fans of the franchise, this is really a fan film. As a standalone film, you're probably not going to watch this. There are a lot of in-jokes. It was fairly cheesy. I do feel that it might have benefited from going a bit more serious than this, but it's not as silly as some of the previous ones. I do actually remember dragging an ex-boyfriend to see Seed of Chucky and being very much told off after the film and told that I could never choose a film again that we were going to see at the cinema because he hated it so much. But you know, he didn't necessarily have the best taste in films anyway, so he wasn't as keen on horror as we are, let's say. But yeah, overall, I mean, it was a little serious at times. Like I say, a few nice twists, some great special effects. The overall look of the film was very effective. A fantastic start to the film. And some nice gore scenes, a lot of in-jokes. It was fairly cheesy, it was fairly silly. Jennifer Tilly was on form, but I do feel that they could have done a bit more with it, and not that I was like majorly disappointed because it was what I expected it to be like. But I did feel like they could have taken it in a slightly different direction, like you say, a little bit more serious. It was still quite spoof.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is, I mean, the previous film, so Curse of Chucky, they did take it in a more serious direction compared to Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky, which are a lot more meta, very 90s influenced, very silly, as you said. Is it sort of less serious than that? Again, is it more comedic?
I think that's actually one of the ones that I've missed, so I can't make a direct comparison to that one, unfortunately. But like I say, I will be watching the ones that I haven't seen and recapping the whole franchise myself, and then I'm going to rewatch Cult of Chucky at the end. So I will be doing my homework. But I do feel like it was kind of like not as silly as some of the previous ones, but it still definitely had that comedy element there. But it was like previous Chucky films with very amazing special effects on top of it, really, for me.
Yeah, because what I was going to say is one of the things I do like about the Child's Play franchise is the kills are very vicious. Are the kills still very much in that vein? So are they still really, really, not sadistic. Sadistic's probably the wrong word, but are they, lots of sharp implements and things like that?
Yeah, that was actually a really fantastic element of it. They always do that very well. There's a lot of gore. There were a lot of very creative deaths, unique. You could tell that they'd been well thought through. They were very satisfying, delivered excellently by our beloved Chucky, and exactly what you would want from the kills. It's the parts in between that I feel like maybe they needed to take a little more seriously, but I guess, like you say, it is difficult. They're playing to the fans who liked elements in the previous films. Me, myself, I'd like to see it a little less comedic, but the kills were definitely on point for me.
Okay, the only other question I have, admittedly, you said you hadn't seen Curse of Chucky, but in Curse of Chucky, one of the only things that sort of put me off was Chucky had a CGI face at points, which looked very, very bizarre. Does he have a CGI face at any point in this?
No, I didn't see anything like that, and it was all very much kind of your traditional Chucky. But yeah, not as 90s looking as you say it was, but it was very much returning to traditional, so very believable. Okay, so if you're a fan of the franchise, you should definitely watch this. Yeah, I think fans are going to love it. I asked around for some some hardcore Child's Play fans, and they said that they enjoyed it. They did say like I had said, maybe they could have done more with it. But again, they said that the kills were really satisfying. There's a lot of gore in it, and a lot of the humor is fantastic. It's very well thought out, and it's playing homage to previous Chucky films, and just the right references in there that it's smart enough to, remind you of all the nostalgic things that you've seen before in the franchise, which is what a fan would want. So
Cool. So, Tom, would you be interested in this?
Well, I, from the sounds of things, I'm not probably a big enough fan that I would get a lot of the in-jokes of it. So I'm not sure I will be rushing out to see that, but I am glad to hear that Chucky doesn't have a CGI face, because that sounds horrifying. He's scary enough, let alone with a CGI face. I guess one question is it the same voice actor from the original?
It is indeed, and his daughter plays the leading lady in the film. So it's very much, I mean, when I watched the documentary beforehand, it was described as a family production, that they've worked on all 7 of these films together, and they know each other very well, they work together very well, and they're like a close-knit family. So there is that element to it where it's all very familiar. They work together so well, and the voice actor of Chucky, his daughter, is actually in the film. So
cool. So highly recommended by Ria then. So if you are a fan of the Child's Play franchise, yeah, check it out. I believe it's out in next month. I could be wrong about that, but it's definitely coming out at some point this year. So yeah, by all means, check that one out if you get a chance to.